everyone. Welcome to HR Tech Talks. I am Ben Eubanks, your host. So glad to have you here with us and looking forward to a great conversation, as always, with one of the leaders in the space who's helping with recruiting, with HR, with learning technology, helping us to do our jobs better as HR and recruiting leaders. So today's conversation is going to dive into the recruiting side of things, helping companies stand out from a sea of sameness. I used that phrase a minute ago, and I feel like it's very applicable. And so we'll dive into those things. As always, if you're watching live, go ahead, chime in. Let us know where you're listening in from. I always have fun going back and reviewing and seeing where everybody is. If I can't always respond in the moment as we're running the show. In addition, if you're watching this on a replay later on, don't forget, chime in then as well, because everybody that's watched it earlier will get a notification saying, hey, this is so-and-so. I'm watching from here and I'm catching on the replay. They'll get that notification too. So if you ask a question or you chime in or you want to engage in that conversation asynchronously, it does not matter because everybody else will hear about that anyway. So glad to have all of you here with us and looking forward to a great conversation as always. So I'm going to go ahead and cue this up. I've known Maury, who's going to be our speaker today, for a couple of years now, and she is super sharp. She has a big passion for helping companies to create a differentiation when it comes to hiring, not just in your processes, but how you represent yourself broadly. And I'll let her get into all the fun stuff, what her company does and how they do it and everything else. But she's someone who I respect. She's done good work in the space for many years and is continuing to. She said, hey, more companies than ever are now realizing they need to shift their attention, shift their focus to make sure that they are representing themselves well when it comes to their job postings and so on. So without any further ado, I'll go ahead and bring Maury into the conversation. Hey there, my friend. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Hey. Thank you. It's fun to be here always. I could talk to you anytime, anywhere. Love to do this.
Well, now we get to do it in front of some friends, so that'll be fine.
Great.
Before we get to some of the good stuff about what SparcStart does and some of the capabilities of the tools, give everybody a little bit of insight into who Maury is, what you do.
Okay, I'm Maury Hanigan, CEO of SparcStart. I think the important thing to understand about my background is, despite being a computer science major in college, which was a long time ago, I started my career at Procter & Gamble. So I have been trained as a marketer. I train and think like a marketer. I went from P&G to Pepsi, where I still did, classic consumer packaged goods marketing. I started on Ivory Soap. I went to, Pepsi Mountain Dew, and then brought all of that training and expertise over to the TA world. And some of it, kind of the story how I got here is I would spend my days doing, looking at storyboards for TV commercials and promotions and that kind of thing, and then sit down with somebody from HR because I'd have an opening on my team, and they'd show me this job description and go, we're going to go market your open position. And I'd go, huh? You're marketing with an internal compliance document? We might as well put the ingredients, label up there on a TV screen and say we're marketing a product. That's not marketing. Who's your target audience? What do they want to know? Anyway, so that's how I got here. Is we've known for a long time how to persuade people, how to get their attention, how to engage them, all of that. And job description isn't it. Sorry. Breaking news, 5 paragraphs of text and 19 bullet points is not what people are diving for. And even when the pandemic's over, it's not going to be. So that's my background story.
I love that. And we have to get into, and probably in a little bit in some of the conversation, talk about the lessons we can draw from the marketing side into what we do. Again, you'll probably touch on some of those things anyway in the conversation naturally, but that's one of those things that I feel like there are some parallels, especially on the recruiting side, between how we represent the company, the opportunities, all those kind of things to the candidates. It's subtly different, right? They're not paying us, we're paying them. So there's some differences there for sure, but it gives us a chance to learn from some of the things that really work well, like you talked about in that kind of intro. So before we go into, we're going to have all this good stuff. Give us some insight into what the company does, right? The problem that you solve specifically for employers or for job seekers, whichever audience we'll talk about there. Because I think that's critical as a foundation for the rest of the conversation we're going to dive into.
Yeah, and what we do is make it easy for employers to both differentiate their jobs and engage candidates, so that candidates understand what it is you have to offer, why they want to come to work for you, and a way to just raise yourself above the, all the sameness that's out there. And be more transparent. A huge part right now is trying to get candidates to connect to the company, to the opportunity, the job. And to some degree, we've added so much automation to everything we're doing, which we have to do. You've got to be efficient. But people are interacting with bots and they're seeing, online scheduling and all this kind of thing. And they don't feel like they know anybody. All the remote work has really removed people. You don't spend a day in the office getting to meet people, getting a sense for the vibe of the place. We're seeing candidates sort of at really arm's length going, do I really want to do this? I'm not confident that I'm going to thrive there, that there are people I'm going to learn from. There have been real downsides to both what the pandemic has caused and then some of the changes that we've needed to make for efficiency reasons. So there's a real crisis going on out there. Candidates are looking at all these jobs available. Latest stat we saw is there are only 0.7 candidates for every open job. And your hiring manager wants to see 3 or 4, fully qualified people. No, I've got 0.7 to give you. It's not even a full human being. I'm glad I don't sit on the TA side of the desk right now. It's like really, really hard. What SparkStart does is we make that easy. Video is a persuasive, really easy way to communicate with people, but files are big, it's clunky, you need some approval processes and so forth. So we take all of the speed bumps out of it. We take all of the logistics piece out so people can use video to actually talk to candidates and help them feel connected and see what it's all about.
And you say video, and people think about video, I would argue they mostly think about video interviews, and that's not what we're talking about. Right?
Not at all.
So
Not at
the
all.
difference here is taking that video and putting it into a job posting so it feels more personal, more human, more all those things you're talking about there, right? And I was going to ask you, because of the proliferation, right, the abundance of bots and tools and scheduling things and all this other stuff that's out there, I would make the argument that video is probably more important than it ever was before. What do you think of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not just the important thing is when a candidate feels like they know somebody at the company, that makes a huge difference. And I'm sure we're going to dive into the research that you've done on, what video candidates actually want to see. When they're looking at a job, they want to see their hiring manager. They don't so much want to see a random employee testimonial. If you've got an employee, Anna in the San Diego office, who works in finance, and a candidate is considering a cybersecurity job in your Milwaukee, connected to the Milwaukee team, they kind of don't care about Anna. Maybe a lovely woman, interesting story to tell, but not relevant to them. But when they can meet their boss and see the team that they're going to be interacting with, that's an entirely different situation and really helps them start to envision themselves in the job. Let's say you're the hiring manager and I watch just a 20-second clip of you and I start to think, what would it be like to work for him? Do I think I can learn from him? Do I think, that process of starting to think about what would it be like to work for him is the start of the recruiting process. That's when you've got, the kind of that first hook. So hiring manager video is really important at the very beginning of the job search. But we're also, the SparkStart platform goes all the way through for any kind of employer branding video, onboarding video, nurturing video. At any time you can talk to a candidate, it's going to be more effective than sending them an email or sending them text or sending them a static image. We all respond to people that we can hear and see, and we're just human wise. It's a deep-seated human condition that isn't going to change. So, we talk to people about future-proofing your tech stack. It needs to have video as a core component in there, and it needs to have a platform that connects to every other piece of your tech stack. And SparkStart, of course, does that. So you can really easily just send a video out with a nurturing campaign or send a video out at any point. Even if you're going to do video interviews, sending a quick video ahead of time. Here's what to expect. Here's who's going to see the video. Those kinds of things make a huge, huge difference.
I'm thinking, again, even after I said that a minute ago, now I'm thinking about the remote piece where people are not able to see an interview in person. Usually when you show up, it's you're mission focused. I've got to answer some questions. I've got to show my best. It's not a fact-finding, open, exploratory, I'm curious about what's going on. I think the way that you see one of those when it's just I'm going to see what this job's about. And you get to hit that button and see the hiring manager talk about, here's the 3 or 4 things I'm looking for in the right candidate. You can probably read that right over there in the job description. It's right there. Okay. They have to put it there. And yet it feels different to get those inputs from someone. As you said, you start to envision, well, could I work with this leader? They made a joke in there in that little 30-second video. I kind of like working for somebody that's fun, or whatever the thing is, just finding a point of connection. It works in the recruiting world. Anyone out there right now who's recruiting, the job of a recruiter is to find a point of connection and then start finding some way to reel them in, not in a slimy way, but how do we build a real relationship? And from a candidate perspective, they're looking for the same thing.
And better yet, rather than the hiring manager saying, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z, if you have a hiring manager that says, if you're interested in big data, if you're interested in logistics, if you want to develop expertise in this, I've got an opportunity for you. Like, why is the candidate interested? Not, you must have 3 to 5 years experience and so forth. But we find really short, they just have to be short clips. No one's going to spend 2 minutes watching a video when they haven't decided it's a job they're already interested in. But if you can keep it under 30 seconds and have it someone's boss, if you can reach out to someone and say, meet your new boss, even if you're not looking for a job, you have no intention of changing. It's like, who is this character who thinks they're going to be my new boss, right? So you click because you're curious. And what happens is the hiring manager gets to talk to the candidate. And they get to say something that will hopefully spark their interest. And that's what it is all about. It's getting people to stop and pick their heads up and focus for, just a short period of time to go, gee, that could be interesting. Let me find out more about that. That's the whole game here, is getting the right people to stop, pick their heads up and understand. And video makes that really easy. We've had high def cameras in our pockets for decades spent. We're not talking, this kind of bleeding edge technology. No. We all know how to operate our phones. And again, you need a platform to make it simple so things automatically upload and people don't have to download apps and do all of that kind of stuff. If you can click a button and have your camera open and do a 20-second video and click a submit button and your hiring managers go back and do their job, you'd be amazed at what a huge difference it makes in the whole process, what it does to educate candidates, to get people to opt in and opt out appropriately because they slow down and they learn something about the job. Yeah, it's a game changer.
Talk about for a second how companies approach it the right way versus, hey, I've got to get some video. I'll tell you really quickly, something probably make you either smile or cringe or both. Had a leader reach out to me recently and said, hey, our company told us we need to get some AI. Get some AI. That was the exact phrase. Their chief digital officer had seen an article in the news about their competitor who was using some tool. And they said, hey, we've got to get some AI because they're doing it. And he said, what do I don't even know how to respond to that. And so I'd imagine you probably get people coming to you saying, hey, we got to get some video. But that's a very different approach than saying, I'm trying to solve this specific problem. Any advice or recommendations, or just talk about that if you don't mind?
Yeah. Yep. No, I had a very similar situation. Somebody asked me, how would I use video in recruiting? And I wanted to say, how would you use words in recruiting? Because video isn't a thing. It's not, I need a recruiting video. Let me go unequivocally and say, no, you don't. You do not need a recruiting video. You may have some business issues you need to solve, and video probably is a very effective way to do that. So what are the issues you need to solve? Do candidates not understand your opportunities? Do they not understand that you've changed and you're a more technically sophisticated organization than you were? What is it? Do your jobs just look like every other job out there and you can't get, you can't really engage people and get them to connect with you? What's the specific issue you're trying to solve? And then let's talk about how does video solve that for you? Because that's really where you do the right thing. To have, 100 employee testimonials, what's it like to work there? What do you do with those? It's what problem is that solving? We start from the other end. With our Amplify product, we always start with a video strategy session and really back into, you need to move the needle here. What are the things that are going to make a big difference in your recruiting program? And let's talk about where and how video can help that. Is it a product manager talking about the product roadmap? Is it, who is it that needs to deliver a message that's going to change the perception you need to change or get the attention of the people you need to get the attention of? And then now you've really got a recruiting process rather than, I've got a video. Yeah, have a video.
Well, I think that's a natural lead into the communications / marketing sort of angle we touched on earlier. Is when someone says, hey, we're building a marketing plan, they don't say, no, we're building a video plan and marketing is going to come and talk about it. No, we're building a marketing plan and video will be a component in this bigger picture of how we reach people, right? Mm-hmm. Video may help us cut through the noise. It may help us engage people we can't engage today. It may help us convert more people than we convert today, but it's a piece of that bigger strategy. It's one of the chess pieces you move around to try to do this. And so as you're working with companies, you talked about starting out with a strategy session, right? Part of that is probably helping them understand here are the areas that can apply. You don't go for everything at once. We say, here's one thing and start from there, I would imagine. I would love for you to talk us through a little bit of that, though, what that looks like for a company that's making that decision for the first time. We need some video as part of this bigger process, as part of how we're reaching people. We need that to be a strategy. I was going to finish the question, but yeah, go for it.
Okay. One of the big stumbling blocks for people is they've produced formal video, full production video with a video crew and a half day, and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so they try to cover all bases in one video or think, gee, how many can we actually afford to produce? And I think you ought to look at video the way you look at emails, right? We actually, one of the really large U.S. corporations got agreement from legal that videos didn't need any more approvals than emails did. Right? They're equally discoverable in court. There's no greater risk there. And a lot of organizations aren't there, that they're still very nervous about it. But one of the good things, and I'm always hesitant to say anything good has come out of COVID, but one of the good things about COVID is it's gotten us over our video phobia. Right. We look the way we look. We sound the way we sound. We understand. We see ourselves on camera and our faces are reversed from the way we normally see them in mirrors and stuff. So we've gotten used to that. And we understand there's a real need that when you can see people and talk to them, it is different. It's the reason we're all on video calls all day long, because we need and want to see people. So the first thing you look at is, with any good marketing or strategy, you look at what are the problems I'm trying to solve, who am I trying to communicate with, and understand that when you're talking just recruiting, the information needs of someone who's going to be a software developer working for you is so entirely different than the information needs of someone who's going to be an internal audit, is entirely different again from somebody who's in sales, is entirely different again from your guy in Portugal, from your woman in Australia, from but really think about who are we communicating with and what do they want to know? When you talk about the big mistakes that people make, I often hear people go, oh, well, we have our 3 key points we want to communicate to everyone. I'm going, okay, consistency is good, having vision and strategy of what you're offering to people. But the idea is, I want to ask, what are the 3 things that candidates want to know? What are the things that are going to get them over the line to say, okay, let me seriously investigate this or pursue this or put this on my short list of jobs that I really want to pursue? What are those 3 things? And they're maybe different than the 3 things you want to tell them. So understand the need for consistency in messaging and so forth. But if you really want to make a difference in the results, it's about, what do they need to hear? What do they need reinforced? What perception do they need changed? What is the green light that lights them up and goes, oh man, I would love to do that. Or that's exactly what I'm looking for. Or that's a good career move for me. That would broaden my skills, or that would give me access to new markets, or that would, whatever it is they're looking to do, what lights them up? You light them up and you've got them.
What about, you mentioned in some cases you get this approved from legal internal, right? Someone from compliance isn't worried as much about them sharing this. What about the people who are doing this? Do they need training? Do you need to make sure that all your managers know what those things are? Right? Because the argument for the consistent organization was, well, they've got to share these 3 points, or we're missing a chance. And I get the importance, as you said, of having some structure, some consistency. But hey, when the interview, let's make sure and tell them this is what we're committed to. This may be a chance to be really specific to that job or that thing that person probably is going to enjoy in that role. Talk about that if you don't mind, because I feel like some people out there are like, that's a great idea, but you don't know our hiring managers. Goodness gracious. I mean, Carl over there. Woo! So what does that look like for your customers? Did they go through training? Do they need that? Is it, hey, we're going to give you a chance to do this, and you've got somebody watching over your shoulder to give you the thumbs up the first time? How does that work?
Yeah, but first of all, we've automated the approval process. So when a video gets made and uploaded, nothing goes public until a designated approver, or in the case of Amplify, you can God forbid, doing a panel of approvers. We understand they're, depending on the kind of video, whether it's going to be used just, to go to one candidate, or it's going to be shared on social media, or depending how it's going to be used, there are different levels. So we've automated the process. You can put up to 7, heaven forbid, approvers in a panel, and we'll route it to each approver until they go around. And no, we won't add an 8th. At 7 guys decide, go or not go. But we also, I mean, as you know, I'm a research data junkie. I love to go out and talk to people and read research, which is why I love reading your stuff. But we understand that candidates, when they really value credibility, right? And as soon as you have a hiring manager who's reading a prepared statement, or you overproduce a video and it starts to feel like a commercial, you lose all the credibility you've got. So let me make a plea to anybody who's watching this: do not script your hiring managers. They're not professional actors. They can't pull it off. As soon as they start to read, you can tell their voices go flat and they start to deliver. And you just, like, here's what we want you to say on this video. However, on the other hand, understand, we don't want the wild, wild west out there. We don't want people going off, with no idea what they're doing, without direction. So on the SparkStart platform, we give the hiring managers, whoever's recording the video, some prompts. There's also an opportunity when you request a video from someone, you put in suggestions and guidelines. You suggest, please focus on the entry-level training program, or please focus on this, or even things, don't mention, proprietary software that we can't, talk about yet, or don't mention this. So it's important that you give people prompts so they have a structure, but you don't want to script them word for word. And if you keep it short enough, and short is incredibly important, if you keep it short and you say, here are the 3 things we want you to do. We want you to introduce yourself with your first name and what you do. We want you to talk about, what the candidate's going to learn, what expertise they'll develop, what training they'll get, whatever it is. And then we want you to end with a call to action. That can be, please apply, or check out our opportunities, or hope you join us. People can remember those 3 things. They know their name and what they do. They can remember 1 or 2 sentences about, what they're talking about. And they'll put the call to action in their own words, whatever you want them to do. Join our webinar, come to our career fair, visit us on campus, whatever it is. When they've got that kind of structure, they can do it, because they can spit out 20 seconds worth of words. When you start to go 2 to 3 minutes, you're lost. But yeah, we've set up the platform to make that really easy. It's easy to request videos. It's easy for the hiring manager or whomever to make it. It's easy to upload it and approve it. We've also built in an editing suite so you can add your company logo and company colors to, all of that. And we've designed it for recruiters that we understand if you can't do it in 1 click, they don't do it. But if you've got a rec load of, 30 recs, I'm sorry, I wouldn't do it either if I couldn't do it in 1 click. It's got to be fast. It's got to be simple. It's got to be intuitive. They're not going to sit in a half day of training or anything for that. So we've made the platform really easy. It's got all the security that, corporations want. So there is an approval process. Things are held behind a firewall. So someone doesn't go out there and make a joke that's inappropriate or say something that's proprietary. Those are real things. We don't mean to be cavalier about that. We understand there's a need for security, but you also just have to make it easy so you can produce, the kinds of video content you need to address the issues you're facing.
You had just mentioned the research a minute ago, and I lost track of that. I was going to come back to it, but we had done some research on this together a couple of years ago and really dove into this. And so you shared some of the key findings already. I just posted that into the chat, so anyone's following on LinkedIn, you can go and read the full thing. There's some really interesting insights in there. And as you've already pointed out a couple of times, the really polished stuff, candidates themselves say that's not as trustworthy. It doesn't feel as authentic to me. They're looking for something a little more real. I don't want to say gritty necessarily, right? But
they just want somebody to talk to them. Just talk to me and tell me the deal. I don't need the logo spinning in. I don't need the drone shot of the building. Just tell me what the job's about. That's it.
We talked a lot about this, but you said something a minute ago that I wanted to come back to, if you don't mind. We talked about this being part of the job posting itself, but you then said, hey, we can share these things out other ways. So if we're doing a video to talk about our new hire training program, or this leadership development approach, or our approach to, ethical sustainability,
DEI,
whatever those things are, can we share that back with a population of candidates who are in our database to try to re-engage them and bring them back in to look for jobs we have open?
Absolutely. The SparkStart platform is set up so that you can do 2 things. You can add hiring manager video to your job descriptions and have those automatically appear on your career site. So if someone, and on the actual job posting on the career site. So if somebody's, on Indeed and they go over to your career site, or however they get to your career site, they can meet their boss right there. And the huge thing about that is the conversion of visitors to applicants goes up by 60%. When they can actually meet their boss right there. Yeah, right there. That's the game changer, right? If they can go to the site, and our software does, we match it all by rec number, so it's all automatic. Hiring manager makes a 20-second video. You have the option of adding 2 coworkers to that, each with 20-second videos. They automatically show up on your career site, no matter what you're using for, a software or a vendor there, and they get to meet their boss. So that's huge. The other output from the SparkStart platform is you can have a video that you can use for any of your employer branding, any of your candidate, anywhere in the candidate journey. And there's a spot at every place in the candidate journey where a human face and a human voice and somebody just talking to them will make a difference. We find one of the ones I really love is when you've got that time kind of either after the offer and before somebody started, or when they're going back to their employer to resign and they're maybe being, counter offered or whatever. Just having team members send really short videos, just say, hey, I understand, you're going to join us. We joke all the time, we're based in New York. So, our videos tend to be, if you're a Mets fan, we're not going to get along because we're a Yankees place. We're absolutely a Yankees house here. But, other than that, we're looking forward to seeing you, and, good lunch spots around and that kind of thing. Just those kind of really quick, welcome to the team, looking forward to getting to know you. Hey, I'm a kayaker, if that's of any interest, I'd love to talk to you about that. It really does help humanize, make people feel welcome. And those can be really short. Do them as recorded videos so that the team members can record them whenever it's convenient, and you don't have this awkward, you're not going to set up a one-to-one to begin with, but just send out a quick welcome video. It makes a huge difference.
I need to share with you some of the research we did last fall around how long someone considers a new job after they've accepted an old one, because that's what I've been telling employers more and more since I found that research, where basically 2 out of 3 candidates say, or employees, once I've accepted a job, I'm still open for anywhere from a few weeks until I'm always, right? I'm never really on the hook. And so I love that idea there. I've got some good notes I want to confirm that number a minute ago you shared. About 60% that you said?
Yeah, okay. 60% increase.
I'm trying to make sure I'm taking notes over here. I always learn something from these episodes. And so I was making sure I had that right. So if someone is curious about the work that you and the team are doing, they want to follow you, what's the best way for them to connect or learn more?
I'm at Maury, Maury, at SparkStart.com. We're obviously at LinkedIn. You can follow us there. We've got a blog. You can follow us there. We love to publish research and do a fair amount of it. We actually did a series of using video throughout the candidate journey, and it's a 9-article series. So you can look at, we go back to, where are you losing people? What happens? They maybe have a first screening call and they bow out. Where are you losing them? What kind of video could reinforce at that point? And just give lots and lots of examples of different kinds of videos, different things you can make. All of it informal. So, no big budgets here. Just a platform so you can keep it organized. So you've got it available to all your recruiters to share it, and keep it simple.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me, for sharing your expertise in this area, your passion in this area. I am definitely going to give some encouragement to my friends in the recruiting space that I've talked to in the next couple of days, especially on the video piece, because it's easy to forget how simple and yet how powerful it can be. So thank you for joining us.
Great. Thank you. Always fun to be here.
Absolutely. All right. I hope everybody else enjoyed the conversation today. There's so many good takeaways, good ideas, good recommendations there. And I hope you understood at the end, she said, hey, this isn't giant budgets. This isn't overly burdensome. This isn't a 6-month, let's figure out how to do this. This is a quick, agile sort of approach to this. So there's a chance for you to stand out in the next week, not in the next, year, trying to connect with candidates and really engage them in a special kind of way. So thank you all for joining us for HR Tech Talks. I appreciate you and look forward to catching you again next week on a new episode. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you.